Hey everyone, in this video we're going to learn about Chinese radicals and why they're so important for never forgetting how to write Chinese characters. I've been learning Chinese for a while, and trust me, if you focus on these radicals that I'll show you today, I guarantee you that writing and understanding Chinese characters will become much easier. A radical is a basic building block of Chinese characters, often hinting at their meaning or pronunciation. Let's talk about our first radical, which is the person radical, the first one in our list. It looks like this, or this other way, and represents person or something related to people. The person radical is essential because it forms the foundation of many Chinese characters related to people or actions. For example, it appears in characters like you. Learning this radical helps you quickly identify meanings and understand Chinese characters more easily. Now let's talk about the sun radical, written as this way. This radical often appears in characters related to time, light, and the sun itself. This is the sun radical. And understanding this radical makes it easier to recognize and remember characters connected to daylight, time, and brightness. Now let's talk about two radicals. One is the mouth radical, and the next one, this one is the enclosure radical. They're different. One is smaller. The mouth radical is smaller than the enclosure radical, and the mouth radical is often found in characters related to speaking or things with an opening like eat or even ask. Now, the the enclosure radical written in this way represents something enclosed or surrounded like in the characters for country or surround. So learning these two radicals help you recognize words related to action or things that are contained. Next up is a heart radical written as this way, and in Chinese we pronounce it as Shin. This radical shows up in many characters related to emotions and feelings. Understanding it will help you recognize and remember characters tied to feelings like emotion or happiness. We have two ways to write this radical. The first one actually looks like a heart, and then we have the other one. So, two ways to write this radical. Now, let's look at the hand radical, written as in this way. And in Chinese, we know it as shou. This radical is often found in characters related to action or things done with the hands, like to hit or to take things. Learning this radical helps you to connect characters to physical action and tasks. Next, let's talk about the I radical written in this way. This radical appears in characters related to vision or seeing, like in the Chinese character to look or the Chinese character that represents eye. Understanding this radical makes it easier to recognize characters that involve sight and perception. Now, let's explore the moon radical, written as yue in Chinese. This radical is often found in characters related to the moon or things associated with it, like bright or the character for evening. Learning this radical helps you recognize characters tied to the moon, time, and light as well. Now let's look at the speech radical. This character represents speech and is written as yan in Chinese. This radical appears in characters related to speaking or communication, like the character, Chinese character to speak, or also the Chinese character that represents language. Next, let's talk about the eat radical as eating food or having a meal or when you're full after eating. And this character is written as shi in Chinese, and this radical is found in characters related to food or also eating. And by learning this radical, you'll be able to identify characters connected to food or eating more easily. Next is the earth radical, written as to. This radical is often found in characters related to the ground or soil, like the earth or fields. Understanding this radical helps you recognize characters related to land, the environment, and the earth itself. Next, let's look at the water radical written as shui. And there are two ways to write this radical. This is the first way, and this is the other way. This radical appears in characters related to water or liquids, for example, the river or the sea. Learning this radical helps you identify characters that involve water and liquids. Let's talk about the fire radical written as wo. This radical appears in characters related to fire or heat, like the character for hot and the character for lamp. Understanding this radical will help you recognize characters connected to fire, warmth, and light. Now, let's explore the wood radical written as mu in Chinese. This radical is found in characters related to trees, wood, or plants, or forests. Learning this radical helps you identify characters related to nature and plant life. Next, let's look at the shell radical written as pay. This radical is often found in characters related to money or valuables like expensive or wealth. Understanding this radical helps you recognize characters related to treasure, wealth, and precious items. Now, let's take a look at the grass radical written as Tao in Chinese. And this is the first way to write this radical. And this radical is commonly found in characters related to plants, as well, it represents grass or greenery like flowers, or even the for character for tea. And this is the other way we write this radical. This is the next way we write this radical. And if we learn this radical, it will help us identify characters connected to nature and plants. Next is the bamboo radical, written as zhu. This radical appears in characters related to bamboo or things made from it, like pen, pencils, or a box. And this is the other way we write this radical. There are two ways to write this radical. And if you get to understand this radical, it links to characters that are linked to bamboo and traditional objects. So you have to practice these radicals, and these radicals will make Chinese writing easier. Next, let's talk about the metal radical, written as tin, and this radical appears in characters related to metal, money, or things made of metal, like iron or money. Understanding this radical helps you recognize and remember Chinese characters connected to metal and financial concepts. Now, let's take a look at the jade radical, written as yu. This radical appears in characters related to jade or precious stones, and we have two ways to write this radical. This is the other way. And if we learn this radical, it will help us identify characters connected to beauty, value, and gemstones. If you practice these radicals, you will learn Chinese faster and never forget how to write Chinese characters. Keep practicing, and you'll see just how much easier it gets. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.